Hi everyone! Very excited to have you here today together with us in this seminar of building your student portfolio to enter top universities. I'm Felicia and I will be the host for today. Yep, so just a short introduction about myself. I'm actually the science head for OVERMUGGED Tuition Center and I specialize in teaching NYGH sciences and IP sciences. Yeah, so I teach like from Sec 1 all the way till Sec 4. Yeah, so I think some of y'all, if you attend any some of like OVERMUGGED event, you might be seeing my face sometimes. Yeah. Okay, so for OVERMUGGED team, yeah, for us, we have been serving thousands of students every year. And we also have NYGH specific classes where we actually cater to their exam syllabus, where we follow the school sequence of topics, and then we cover what the school requirement is. Yeah, so that we can actually prepare well for the students in their exams. We also have NYGH syllabus curated notes that is specially designed according to the school's requirement. And we also do conduct like NYGH informative events such as the one that we are having here today. Yep, so if you'd like to have more information about the seminar today, feel free to open up your goodie bag. There is actually a seminar booklet inside where there will be more details that will be covered today. Many of our students have grown with us through their NYGH years. And here's the lesson timing that we have at OVERMUGGED that is specialized for NYGH students. So we have lower set classes, we have upper set classes in for math as well as sciences too. The NYGH tutor team at OVERMUGGED is led by myself as well as three other tutors. Yeah, so here's our subject specializations. And we are all very experienced in teaching the Nanyang syllabus. So do trust that you are in good hands today for this seminar. Yeah, so here's the agenda for today. We will first start off with maximizing opportunities during secondary school and JC years, then followed by the internships and portfolio building from young. Then we will have a short pilot break, then moving on to how to prepare effectively for your A levels. Then lastly, it will be how do you decide and choose your university path. The NYGH girls have shown to be hardworking and high achievers, and we have caught four of our best graduating class of 2023, which is the batch that just graduated last year. Yeah, over here with us. Yeah, so let me introduce them to you. So first we have Janelle. Hi. Yeah, so she is from NUS Science, NUS Medicine course. Sorry. Yeah. Then next we also have Faith. Yeah, so she is in UCL in UK doing philosophy, politics, and economics. Next we have Clarice, who is in NUS Dentistry. And next we also have Yingzi, yeah, who is in London School of Economics at UK, doing law. So without further ado, let's get Janelle to kickstart the seminar today. Yep, so Janelle, please.
Okay. Hi, so I guess I'll start off by sharing about my secondary school journey. If I'm being honest with you guys, if you're talking about portfolio for university, personally, I didn't do anything remotely related to medicine or like a science degree in secondary school. I think what's just most important in secondary school is that you make sure that you like balance your academics. Because for me, I did 8 subjects and I did advanced math, so that's 9 subjects. And I think what was like really important for me was that I ensured that across all my 9 subjects, I did like sufficiently well across all, which is difficult, I know, because you guys have to manage your CCA, your like leadership stuff as well as your academic. So just make sure that you're doing off everything, and then when you go to JC, you can like when it's closer to like when you're applying for unis, you can like try to branch out more into portfolio building and uni related stuff. So for now, just chill, just like study. It's fine. Don't need to worry so much. I think something that I found like challenging was that I found the pace of secondary school like much more different from primary school where only doing 4 subjects. So just make sure that you have to be consistent because once you fall behind on like one subject, it's very hard to catch up because imagine you're bad at like one subject, then you need to spend a lot of time to build on this. Meanwhile, your 8 other subjects are like charging forward and like the usual like very fast speed. So once you try to like make up for one, then you also have to maintain your other 8 as like the status quo. So point is it's difficult to catch up once you fall back. So make sure that you're doing consistently well for all 9. I think that's your most primary concern that you should have in secondary school. How did I juggle CCAs and other leadership position besides academics. Personally, I sought help and additional resources to like juggle my academics and my extracurricular. So I was with Miss for like my 4 years in secondary school. So throughout that 4 years, whenever like I needed like extra help, Miss would help me out. Yeah, and I think lower sec, she was like my science teacher, so she helped me for like all my three science subjects in lower sec. So I think Miss was like really, really, really like committed and dedicated teacher lah. So she helped me a lot with like feeling confident in my academics. So what did I lean on for resources? Yeah, I rely on like Miss lor. Cause but like because like stay real, I didn't have any other tuitions. Cause yeah, I think I only had tuition with Miss So just Miss lah. The rest is just studying myself more. What I would advise my secondary school self, I think it's just important to make sure that you seek help when necessary. Like don't let the questions snowball. If you need tuition, raise it up. So like actually I might mention this later in more detail, but if you guys are wondering for my A level score, I didn't do well. I got AABB. But like so that's just like evidence that if you don't study, oh, because I did 4 years with Miss right? Then when I did JC, I didn't go for tuition anymore. So my A level results sort of like tanked a bit as well. I got AABB. But I think that's also like an interesting point to share because I think all of them did really well. I was the only one like who did badly across my cohort. But like I got offered NTU Med, NUS Med, and SMU Law. So like point is grades aren't everything for you to apply to university. You guys can feel free to ask more about like this about how you can get to your universities even if your grades weren't that good because I got AABB. So yeah, anyway, my point is I didn't study that hard in JC, so I didn't do well. So make sure you guys study hard, guys. That's my most important message to you guys. Now I'll pass the time to Faith to share a bit more.
Hey, hi guys, I'm Faith. So today I'll share a bit about like my secondary school journey. So I would say like, okay, for our batch, we went through secondary school during COVID. So but I think somehow even though like during COVID a lot of things were a lot more like toned down and a lot of time like was spent at home lah, like during circuit breaker. I think like my secondary school life was still like very packed with a lot of things. But like so as for me, I was like involved in like council and like exco, and I was also in like modern dance. So all very like high commitment stuff. But for me, like I'm someone who is like very like driven by my passion and like why I and like I'm very clear of my purpose of why I do things. So in a way I was busy, but I was also having a lot of fun. So it wasn't too bad. What I found difficult, like me personally, I struggled with like the sciences, but I also enjoyed like slowly figuring things out and studying until I eventually understood stuff. And then I think in general, like because I also did 9 subjects. So aside from the 5 core subjects we had, I did like physics, chemistry, history, and literature. So also like pretty content heavy subjects lah. So I think it was generally hard to ever feel prepared for the exams for all 9 subjects that I took, which led to a lot of like worry because I think like I don't know if you all share the common sentiment, but sometimes it feels like no matter how much you study, a part of you will always feel unprepared. So I think that's something I struggled with. Um, how I juggled like stuff outside of academics. I took the things that I was doing in CCA like dance and also the work that I did for council as like sort of an escape, and I used like my break time to do it. So it really didn't get very tiring for me, and I had like good friends and good teachers who like did it all with me lah. So it was really fun lah. Like, I really enjoyed my secondary school years. As for where I leaned on for resources, I feel like in general, like Nanyang does provide like really good support in terms of academics. Like your teachers are always available for consultations and stuff like that. I also had tuition for I think I can't really remember. I think 1 or 2 subjects for like different periods of time. So I think like I also with like Miss as well. So I think it definitely did help because I mean I had tuition with Miss for science and I'm not very good at science. So I think it definitely helped it because I gradually improved lah. And what I would advise my secondary school self if I had time, I think like I think I had a lot of fun, but I think like when during the periods that I was stressed, I was like really, really stressed out. And I think there was no need to be lah because I think secondary school is like still a time when you can afford to have a bit more fun and learn more about yourself. And like JC is kind of the time when you chiong a bit more because you kind of have like a big exam on the way lah. So I guess I would advise like my secondary school self to like chill out a little bit more and like work hard, play hard. Yeah. Okay, next. Clarice will share more about her secondary school journey.
Okay, thanks, Faith. So, hi, I'm Clarice.
So what my secondary school journey was like, right? Just a bit of context. As you can see, there was like a lot of playing, but a lot of studying as well. You can ask my friends in secondary school, like Hans Janelle. I was a mugger in secondary school, like, basically. So I didn't really have a lot of extracurricular stuff going on apart from CCA. Like I was president of Naya Outdoors, but aside from that, I really spent the rest of the time just studying lah. Lol. Okay, so as you can see, right, what I would advise myself in secondary school, I'll like, actually try new things outside of the classroom, beyond academics and beyond my CCA. For example, actually Nanyang has a lot of things like I think I remember there was one F1 at HCI challenge where you actually get to build like a miniature F1 car or something like that. There's interesting stuff like that that's more related to the real world instead of just studying and going for CCA. Yeah, but on the flip side, I was also grateful that I spent a lot of time studying because it gave me a lot of very strong foundation so that in JC, right, I had that foundation already, so I wasn't as stressed when I was going to work towards the A levels. Yeah, so um or what did I find difficult, challenging? Okay, basically, background is that I'm a math BSA, so languages and humans is like I'm really weak at that. So basically, I just like work really hard for those and really focus very heavily on those stuff. Um, yeah. Then where did I lean in for resources? So I went for tuition in the subjects I was really weak at, like Chinese, LA, and I also went for science tuition. You can see, right? It's like proven results, okay? So basically in Sec 1, Sec 1 I wasn't a mugger yet. Sec 1 I played a lot basically. Yeah, so I got 67 in for science in Sec 1, and that really shocked me basically because throughout primary school you're like okay lah, can get 80, 90, but then suddenly Sec 1 my science dropped to 67. So I went for tuition with Miss and then in Sec 4 my physics got 96. Okay. No. Actually, yeah, but 96. So I really recommend tuition lah, especially since Miss right, she really distills the physics concepts down for you and really breaks it down into answering techniques for you so that you can sort of perform well in the test because you know what the examiners are looking out for. So it really helps you study smart and save time so that you can do new things beyond the classroom. Yeah, things like that. And also, so general advice for secondary school, right? Because I'm assuming I'm talking to IP crowd. So then a majority of you all don't have like O levels to look to like work towards. So I would say it's more chill, so you can have a little bit more time to explore stuff outside of your academics. So I would really advise you to go and because you have the advantage over your O level peers to go and explore something else that is not solely academic. So like for example, Olympiads or like extracurricular activities, either research or some camps outside, like physics camp or okay, I sound like a nerd, but yeah, essentially explore more things that are beyond ACADS and CCA lah. That's what I advise you. But at the same time, really work to strengthen your foundation so you won't regret in JC. That's my general advice for secondary school. Okay, yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone, I'm Yingzi. So I believe the three speakers before me shared quite a lot about their secondary school journey and a lot kind of overlaps because we're from the same secondary school. So what were my secondary school days like? Personally, I felt that I enjoyed my secondary school more than I did JC because I felt that I did less mugging and I was a bit more carefree. So it kind of ties into what I would advise my secondary school self if I were to come back the time is to really like cherish the time that you have is whether be it to do something that you are passionate about um or do explore what other interests you may have. And as for what I found difficult academically back then, funnily enough, I found like IH and IH like humans, and lit like later on quite hard. And I also did like advanced sciences in Nanyang Upper Sec, but then in JC my subject combi is the arts combi. So a lot can change between secondary school and JC is what I'm trying to get across. And as for how I juggled CCAs and extra things, for me the most important part was time management, discipline, and also to sort of have a good support system, whether it's your family or your friends or sometimes even your teachers. So it's really up to you how you really utilize these skills of time management and discipline, but it's important that you have them and they guide you in perhaps like managing your schedule or things like that. And as for where I leaned on for resources, it was a mix of my school teachers and also tuition. So the teachers mostly provide extra consultations for questions in school you encounter that you maybe don't understand or you need a bit more explanation. And for tuition, I found that the notes were really helpful and also the opportunities to do extra practice. Because sometimes if you just read the notes and you think that you understand, but when you put it into practice, somehow there's this gap. So I think extra practice, whether it's tuition or on your own, actually helps a lot academically. Um, I'm about done for this slide, so I'll pass the time to Janelle to talk about her opportunities in the JC years.
I guess now I will talk a bit more about my JC life. So for me personally, I broke it down into like 4 aspects of my JC life. So there's the academic part, the CCA leadership parts, and some school related parts, and there's a 4th part that I'll share with you guys more later. So I guess for academic parts, all 4 of us actually, all 4 of us were like from GP. So I've actually known them since like I was like in primary school. And moving forward, when I was in secondary school, I was part of NYGH, the SBG program. I'm not sure if you guys still have it now, but it's just the school-based gifted education. Then I took advanced math in secondary school as well. I don't know if you guys have like the same system, but basically when I graduated in Sec 4, my MSG was 1.0 and I got like distinction. So like guys, I'm serious, okay? You guys need to like I'm telling you in secondary school, the only thing I did was study. Sorry guys. I was a loser in secondary school. Okay, I just like studied my way off, which really, really is like important because in secondary school, now you guys are 14. You guys don't really know what uni course you guys want, right? Like you're still sort of figuring things out. But the only thing you know for sure is that your grades are like okay. Wait, guys, I think a lot of them here also got 1.0. Okay, it's not just me, guys. No, but okay, back to the topic. My point is saying that right now you guys are like 14. You guys may not know what degree course you guys want, but the most important thing is that you guys can stand in the position where you can look at all the courses available and pick from that. So make sure that you are at a position where you can pick what you want to take and not let the degree pick you. You know what I mean? Which means you guys need to be doing sufficiently well. So in secondary school, I just studied, which paid off lah. I got okay, guys, I think a lot of us got 1.0. Is it 1.0?
You're so amazing.
Stop. Wait, we've known each other for a really long time. And back in secondary school as well, I did math Olympiad. I got like 1 distinction, that's it. And and then in JC, I was part of their gifted and talented education, but I think they rebranded it. So for your batch, you guys will just know it as SMTP Gate. So in my batch, there were 6 SMTP Gate classes. Like it's basically like an accelerated program for students in the science stream in JC. And I also took H3 chemistry in JC as well as BCME, which is basically biochem math econs. In JC, you pick like 4 subjects to study. So that's like my academic side. That's different already. Oh yeah, sorry. It's a bit different for you guys. And then for CCA, when you guys are in secondary school, you guys will be exposed to many more different CCAs. So there are 2 CCAs that I was part of. So the first part, I was part of community involvement program, CIP Council, which is this year they changed it to VIA Council to make the name more straightforward to you guys. Like when I say VIA Council, you can sort of guess what it means, right? Like you guys will be doing like community service and VIA work in this VIA Council. And my second CCA, I was in student council and I was part of the EXCO of student council. Faith was also in student council with me as well. Yeah. And in terms of CCA, I was also in dance with Faith. Me and Faith have been in the same CCA for 6 years. We've been a long time together. Yeah, so that's my CCA leadership sort of section. Then for other school-related opportunities, when you guys are in JC, I guess all interested. Are all of your science students? Yes, right? No? Okay. Okay, if you guys are science students and you're like really interested in that whole like research sort of medicine, more for research, there's this thing called Center. It says for Center of Talent and Development, like Center of Talent and Development. Yeah. So it's like I did a 1-year plus attachment / internship at A-Star, particularly the Genome Institute of Singapore. So I did a bit of like cancer immunotherapy research. Like sort of. It's not like as big of a deal as it sounds. It just did like a bit of like cell stuff, you know. And in JC, if you guys aren't like science related, but you guys want to do like more like MAN related things, more leadership related things, then there's this thing called Asia Pacific Youth Leader Summit. It's kind of like a MAN, but it's organized by Hua Zhong. So you can sign up for that. I signed up to be the organizing team of it. And if research doesn't interest you and like leaders and MAN related stuff doesn't interest you, you can also try to do volunteering, which is like this. You guys in JC, you guys also have an opportunity to do something called service learning projects or SL projects. Then over there, basically a group of 4 to 5 students, you guys will come together and like you guys can organize different volunteering events. But like I know right now it's a bit of information bomb on you, right? Because you guys are looking at like academic. Math Olympiad is a huge commitment by itself. CCA, being like a president or doing exco is like a huge commitment and you need to like contest with people. And for other related opportunities, to be in an organizing team or like doing a research, these are all high commitment things. So it's not possible for you guys to do everything at once. But that's what's going to happen in JC. You're going to be offered a lot of things. But if you don't want to do something as high commitment as that, but you still want to like work towards your goal in uni, I would suggest the 4th thing, which is honestly the most important thing. I would say you guys can do like volunteering. So these are like some of the volunteerings I did in my 2-year span. I didn't do it in secondary school, I did it in JC. But my point is, if you're really thinking about it, right, doing like leadership or doing your like your CCAs or doing your academics, right, are like very intensive commitments. And if you guys like try to do volunteering, I feel that you guys can also really like see like society outside of your school and you guys also get to do good, which I think is like very useful to like broadening your horizons and like seeing more things lah, because besides of your school. So these are the volunteering that I did in my JC. Yeah. By the way, the disclaimer goes that because it was COVID year, no, it was like still COVID restrictions in JC. So for both the Cambodia and the Vietnam one, these were like virtual. But I'm sure you guys like when it's your turn, it's no more COVID lah. So you guys actually have to travel. So it's like higher commitment lah. But my point is these things you get what I mean? Like it's not as heavy a commitment as like having to go to CCA 3 to 4 times a week. So if you guys want to do something more than your academic life, but you don't want something like that's super stressful or like super high responsibility, you guys can feel free to do some individual volunteering. Yeah, there's no opportunity cost. But just make sure that when you're doing your volunteering, like don't be bad at it lah, guys, okay? like don't sign up to tutor someone and not show up for the tutoring session, then let them own self, like you get what I mean, okay? Don't be a bad person, okay? Yeah, now I'll pass the time to Faith, who will share more about her JC opportunity.
Oh, sure. Okay. Hi guys. So these are some of the stuff that I did in like my JC and secondary school years. So I think like Misa asked me to explain the difference between the humanities program and H3. So basically the humanities program is like a program that you're part of. So there are 2 classes and usually the intake is about 50 people each year. So that's just a program. A H3 subject is a subject that's examinable and you'll either take an exam for it or you will submit some form of research paper and it will appear on like your A-level results slip. So that's the difference. So as for me, like I was part of like the bicultural studies program for 4 years since Sec 3 in Nanyang. And then when I came into Hua Chong, I also joined the humanities program. On the academic front, I guess I did like a bit of MAN. I did like I think like 1 or 2 other months before I started doing by month. So, but like those were like relatively small and I was still like trying to get used to the whole idea of MAN lah. So it was just like a for funsies thing. MAN is like model UN. So basically what happens is you are assigned the role of a country and then there's a certain topic and you have to like discuss the topic with other people, but from the point of view of your country and like ensure that you try to advance or like at least secure your country's interests. Yeah. So but in secondary 3 and 4 and a bit of J1, I was like a chairperson for 2 iterations of the bilingual youth model United Nations, which is like a thing that Nanyang has if you are like either if you're interested or if you're part of like BSP. So basically like the MAN is conducted in both languages, which was kind of fun and like I think it's the only MAN in Singapore to have that bilingual element. And then I went on to be like the head academic advisor for Baiman. So basically, assembling the next organizing team and also ensuring the smooth running of like the batches ahead of me lah. And then I also did H3 geopolitics. So basically it's like university H3. So what happens is like from January to April in my J2 year, I went to like NUS to have lectures and tutorials with like university professors. And in April, I basically took like the university, like their final exam with them. And eventually you get a grade lah, like distinction, merit, or pass. Eventually, like on your results slip. But you'll only see that next February when you get it together with the rest of your other subjects. Aside from that, I would say that in terms of the humanities, it's a lot harder to find things like research opportunities or competitions to be a part of. Like just now, Janelle mentioned there are a lot of like CENTAC projects and whatnot that you can participate in if you're a science student. I would say that for humanities students, that's definitely a bit more limited lah. So this John Locke Institute essay competition is something that I think like Yingzi and I like sourced out on our own. So essentially, I wrote an essay on like politics and like China's role as a global superpower. Yeah, so that was a fun thing I did. A bit stressful, but interesting still. As for CCA, I like as Jenna mentioned, like we participated in like 2 rounds of SIF and got like distinction both times. But that's like hardly to our credit, it's more to the team. And yeah, I was in Modern Arts Exco for like 1 year before I eventually joined the Students' Council. And when I came over to JC, I also had like a brief stint in like Mad Modern, which is like basically modern dance. Then that was before I joined 2 CCAs in Hwa Chong. So I was in the Students' Council and I was also in the faculty committee. So basically like our like house thing, you all know, right? So yeah, so I did that in JC, but it was a continuation from what I did in Nanyang when I was like a part of NYC. Then I joined EXCO and like we were the first batch of people to do like a women's leadership conference. I don't know if you all have heard. But yeah, so that's how the conference started. And some other school related opportunities. Oh yeah, it's here. Okay, yeah, I organized like this like inaugural women's leadership conference and I think it's been running ever since. I don't know if it's the exact same as the way we planned it at first, but it certainly still exists. And as for volunteering, I volunteered at some like Meet the People sessions. And I also like took part in a service learning project. So I would say like the opportunities and the stuff that I was exposed to throughout my secondary school and JC years are not necessarily like super extensive and they don't really cover like many different areas. But I think the stuff that I chose to like get myself involved in were like things that I genuinely cared about and had a passion in. And I didn't really like set out doing these activities with the conscious idea or like vision of like building a portfolio per se. But I guess this goes to show that like there's like things do fall into place if you kind of just do what you want and always like strive to like improve yourself and make the most of the opportunities and the time that you are given in secondary school and JC. Okay, yeah. Okay, I'll pass the time over to Clarice.
Hello. Okay, so I'm back. So academic opportunities, right? So as you can tell, remember, I went for Miss Earth's tuition class for physics, right? So she inspired me so much, right? I took advanced physics in secondary school. Yeah, wait, any fellow advanced physics friends?
Yeah, year 2.
Oh, they did
Majority.
join advanced physics next year. Okay, kidding. Follow your heart. Yeah. But anyways, so like why the sudden jump, right? In JC, right, I took H3 economics. So I feel like as you can tell from my academic opportunities and the other school related opportunities, right? In JC, these are mostly JC. I began to have a lot of like liking for economics as a subject, which led me to take H3 econs and go for a lot of competitions that were like business, economics related. So like what Faith mentioned and Janelle mentioned, I feel like a lot of my JC journey was me doing a lot of stuff within areas that I'm passionate in. For example, like water polo. I was honored enough to serve as captain of water polo as well because I was really passionate about the sport. And then in econs, that passion really let me uncover a lot of opportunities that were outside of what Hwa Chong provided. Okay, I would say Hwa Chong, like Faith said, humans, there's not many things that it's not like as straightforward as science or research, Olympiads and things like that. But they do have a lot of things like case competitions or innovation challenges that they send out in your emails, so be sure to check. But general advice is you might feel a bit inundated because there's a lot of different competitions out there. So you really have to be selective which ones you want to commit your time to. Yeah, so for super curricular competitions, these essay competitions, Olympiads, experience programs, and talks, since I'll like bucket my economics competitions into these four buckets. Yeah. And then CCA opportunities, I would say I tried to seek out leadership roles in my CCA primarily because I feel like my CCA, like outdoors and water polo, they were something that I was very passionate about already. So within my leadership roles there, I tried to initiate things that weren't going on previously already. Yeah, so to improve the CCA lah, and I feel like that really honed my leadership and soft skills. Yeah, so I think that's about it for my JC and secondary years. Yeah, you'll see a plot twist later about why I'm not doing economics. I'm actually doing then, yeah, in uni. But it just shows that you might like the subject, but you might not like the career. Okay, we'll get it. Yeah. Stay for the talk. Stay to the end. Okay, I'll pass the time to Insu.
Yeah. So I've been in the same class as Faith for basically since Sec 1 all the way until JC2. So a lot of the things she mentioned already. So academically, I was like in the same two programs as well, BSP and HP. The thing is that HP also has a scholarship by itself under MOE, but because they only allow you to take one, but that doesn't limit you in participating in the program itself in JC, if that's what you worry about. BSP scholarship. BSP scholarship is the, like, me and Faith are both part of this, is Bicultural Studies Program scholarship. Yeah. And then HP is Humanities Program. So what I found good about this is that it's interdisciplinary, as you'll find with most humanities subjects. And within these programs itself, the perk is that it has lots of different opportunities to either boost your studies in specific things or just to broaden your perspective. And it's not something that you usually see in your school curriculum or even related to a specific subject. And I also did history literature. In JC, you'll find that a lot of the history subjects have different methods of assessment. So some will be exams that you take together with your A-level exams. Some will be uni exams, which you take like in June or things like that. And then some will be research or coursework based. So mine was coursework based and it was self-directed. So I think for like the Sec 2 students, maybe you don't need to think so far yet, but if you're choosing a history or things like that, you can think about whether the mode of assessment is suitable to your learning style and things like that. Because mine was just submission based and it's mostly self-directed. So I had to rely a lot on my own personal discipline to make sure I was on track. And for external staff, I did BIMAN at some point for 1 year as a chair. And then I was the organizing team for HP BSP MAN, but it's an internal MAN and it's quite small scale event. And I did the same essay competition that Faith mentioned just now, which is the John Locke Institute essay competition. I wrote an essay about law, and maybe I'll talk a bit more about that later when we talk about career things. As for CCA, I was in shooting from Sec 1 all the way to J2, and to my knowledge, I think Nanyang doesn't have shooting anymore. Yeah, so, and then in JC, I joined the faculty committee, and this is basically just planning events and things like that. I was the publicity IC, so my job was more focused on designing things, media related things, and some other stuff. I did Odyssey of the Mindset too, but I don't think it exists anymore. So yeah, and other school related opportunities that I did in either JC or secondary school is volunteering, which sort of doesn't fall between the first two categories. But I believe Janelle has spoken a lot about volunteering more than I can, so you can just listen to that. And I guess general advice when you're thinking about what to do in either secondary school or JC is that you can volunteer to do things that you're interested in, and don't be too worried about whether you can handle as many commitments, because at least to me, if you choose to do something that you're passionate about, it will somehow just work out. But you still have to do it within reason and just don't take on too many responsibilities for the sake of just having a stacked portfolio and things like that. So passion is quite important when you're thinking about what to do with your secondary school and JC time. Yeah, and I think this is all for the first section. So I'll hand it over to Mr. first.
Thank you for panelists for sharing. Yeah, so hope you had some insights Okay, so next we will move on to our second agenda for today, which is on internships and portfolio building from young. Okay, so I'll get Janelle to kickstart on the second section here. Yep, so Janelle, please.
Um, Wait, sorry, like just like now that we are like moving on to like a second chapter of like the seminar today, right, we're talking about internships. Personally, I felt that there was no need for me to start portfolio building internships in secondary school. As I said, I did most of mine in JC, and I got into the university. So I think it proves that you guys don't need to be overly stressed about it. Like you don't have to like think about it so hard now. But okay, this is what I did in my JC. So okay, okay. So how I look for internship was, okay, for me, I did internships at three different like industries. I did it in like medicine, dentistry, and law. So for medicine, I did it at several hospitals, including Ng Teng Fong, Tan Tock Seng, and KK. For dentistry, I did it at two places, Petite Smiles and Tooth Angels. And for law, I did like, wait, I don't even think 6 months, sorry, I think I typed wrong. Around 3 months at Ella and Glad Hill, which is one of the big four law firms in Singapore. So I think it's nice if you guys in JC can like experiment what it's like to be working in different industries, because before you guys fully commit to any faculty you want to study, it's important that you work there, see what the work culture is like, and see what the job scope is like, and make sure that before you commit 5 years into studying medicine or 4 years into dentistry and law, like make sure you know what you're in it for, because it's kind of like a lifelong career. So okay, if you're talking about how I look for them, one thing, one way I did was that, you know, in JC you're gonna have a lot of career talks. So what happened is sometimes they'll be like, the school will invite people working in the field, like either dentists or doctors or lawyers, to have like career talks. And what I'll do is that once the talk ended, I will just approach the speaker, like I will like have a little conversation with them. And if I realize that they are like willing to like, you know, like talk to you about it, about stuff, you can just drop them a follow-up email, and then you can tell them that, oh, you're like you're someone who's really passionate about this field, and you want to like experiment what it's like to be working in such a field. And sometimes where if their schedule fits, they might allow you to like job shadow them for a while. But sometimes you're also gonna receive a no. So like go in with an open heart, and like don't go in expecting anything. Just make sure that, just understand that if anyone offers you like a job shadowing, it's like an act of kindness, and be like don't take it for granted. Like try to learn from it. And
What's job shadowing?
Sorry?
Can you elaborate what's job shadowing?
Okay, I think there's a difference between job shadowing and internship. So job shadowing is where someone is doing their job and you're literally shadowing this person. So you get to see what this person is doing. You don't get paid because you're not doing anything. You're just shadowing the person. But you get like a super first-hand experience of what it's like to be a 45-year-old, 50-year-old professional in working in the field. Then there's also internships. So these types, you generally get paid. I mean, I got paid, but like you're actually doing things. So you're sort of like working for the boss. So you're not exactly, you won't see the boss 24/7. He'll just give you work, and you just like see what it's like to sort of work in the field. But you get paid. So it depends on what you're looking for. Job shadowing, no money, but you get to like bodyguard, be like their bodyguard, follow them everywhere. Like I have lunch with them sometimes because it's literally like shadowing them. Internships, not that close to the boss, but you get paid lah. So it depends on what you're looking for also. So there's a difference in both. Yeah. And besides like approaching people who work in the field, the second thing I did was that, like for me, I really wanted an internship, but I don't really have like connections for it. Like in my family, nobody's like in the healthcare or like law industry. So what I did was I printed my resume. I printed like 50 of them. Then I went to like those like medical buildings, you know. Then I just like knock on different clinic doors, and I just passed my resume to the receptionist. And I was like, hi, I'm 18 years old. Do you guys have job shadowing vacancies? Really? Yes? No? Okay. Then I'll just like walk out of the clinic slowly. So I got like 50 no's, but eventually you have one yes. And that one yes is all you need to like have that opportunity to see what it's like to work in that field. So I would just like to stand here and say that I don't have anyone, I don't know anyone, any relatives working in medicine, dentistry, or law, but I managed to get my job shadowing or internship. So my point is, if you want it bad enough, you just have to like put yourself out there, like be a bit more thick skin, and try to like look for internships, because no opportunities don't come and knock on your door. You have to go and like knock on their door, you know? So don't when I was in JC, I was freaking out a bit because a lot of people had connections. Like not connection, but a lot of people like could get internships a lot more easier because they knew people in like certain like jobs but I'm just here to say that it's not the case. You guys, if you want it, okay, fight for it, that's it. And oh yeah, the last thing I did was for my law one, I just co-emailed them. Like I got it, I just like send them an email. But I think for Ella and Glad Hill, they are quite like chill. Like I have a few friends who like just emailed them and got it from Ella and Glad Hill. If you guys are interested in law. Yeah, I'll pass my time to Faith, who can share more about her portfolio.
Okay, so as for how I prepared like my portfolio for university, I think firstly I really had to understand the demands of like the universities that I was applying to, and also like shape my portfolio to show them what they're looking for. So at least for me, like for the longest time I wanted to go to the United Kingdom lah. I wanted to go to like either like basically like either one of the London schools or like Oxbridge to do like PPE lah, which is the degree I'm currently going to pursue. So basically the UK system is a lot more focused on academics. So they definitely want to see a lot more of your passion for that specific area that you are intending on studying in university. Whereas like for the US universities, which I did apply to but was not as interested in, they are more focused on having a well-rounded portfolio, having passion in like multiple different areas and like wanting to contribute back to the community. Yeah, and another thing like for me is that as I was preparing my portfolio for university, I was also preparing my portfolio for scholarships. So not only did I need to sort of like care about like the academic stuff that I was doing and how to build like the academic aspect of my portfolio, I also needed to like work out how to like sort of like build my portfolio a bit more to be able to like hopefully have a better chance at a scholarship. So I would say that like a good portfolio should comprise like things that you've done in school, but also mainly things that you've done voluntarily, because that definitely shows a lot more initiative and passion on your part. Um, you should also show like your achievements or positions in these things and things that stand out. For example, like your academic ability, your passion, and how you sort out opportunities for your own learning and took part in relevant internships. I think like this is just a pretty basic guide on how to like how to like sort of like build a portfolio. But I think for me, how this process went was also like included me doing everything that I wanted to do first, and then sort of looking back at it and seeing how I could like piece it all together. Because like the stuff that I chose to do, I think all show like a different part of myself. So eventually the piecing it together just gives like the university or like the organization that you're trying to apply to for a scholarship, it just gives them a better idea of you as a person. So if they like that, then I guess they'll accept you. If they don't, then they won't. And I guess that might not be the path of the university for you lah. So as for how I look for internships, you can do a bit of like prior research to see where like people intern in and like in preparation for their university applications or courses to find out what was useful and what was not and then go for them. But like genuinely speaking, like as for me, I didn't really apply for any internships when I was in secondary school. Reason being I was already very like overcommitted with school stuff and council work, which often like would eat into like your holidays and stuff like that. And usually a lot of like firms or companies, they want like a certain like extended period of time. So for example, they will need you to have like a 1 month or like 2 month commitment, which you cannot really afford in secondary school lah. So I didn't really get that. But at the end of Sec 4, I did like co-email, like, I think like a random law firm, and they did get back to me and then they said, oh, you need to commit for 1 month. And I said I cannot. So then they said, okay, then never mind, we don't want. So I was like, okay, never mind. But the fact was that I think at first they were interested in giving me the opportunity, just that they wanted that period of commitment for me. So when it came around to like the end of J2 and the end of A levels, I wanted to like, although eventually I'm studying like philosophy, politics, and econs, I still wanted to get a good idea of law as well, because I thought that might be an option for me as well, like to swivel into. So I decided to go and have some exposure at this law firm. So I basically emailed them back and I was like, hi, I like emailed you guys like 1 or 2 years ago. And like I now have like an extended period of time and I love it if I would have the opportunity to like intern with you guys. So I eventually did get that. I spent 3 months at like a criminal law firm, which was really very interesting. I mean I can share more about this like later if you have any questions. But basically like the internship was really, really enjoyable. Um but I think in the end, like my heart was still with like my current degree, so that's what I chose eventually. Yeah. Okay. Slay. Okay, wait. Claire's is next.
Hi, okay. So these are some general tips on how I prepared my portfolio and look for internships. So preparing portfolio for university, right? Like what Faith mentioned, right? Do something that you're passionate about and try to take on leadership roles in those areas so that you can show that you're basically given the avenue to take initiative in the things that you're passionate about. And this is important also for pragmatic reasons. Like a lot of universities, like if you're applying to US or even local, right, they ask you a lot of essay prompts that require you to talk about an instance where you've been where you've showed entrepreneurship or something like that lah. So then you those are where you can bring in the passion projects or leadership roles that you have and how you've actually made a difference and show how unique you are, basically. And then so for super curricular activities, those are also quite important. So within your subject area that you're passionate in, for example, econs or for example science like medicine, try to go for activities that are related, that are outside of academics. For example, like we mentioned, research, essay competitions, Olympiads, and things like that. So those are considered super curricular activities. Then another tip that I myself use, right, is that I did a lot of research on past successful applicants. For example, when I was applying to the UK econs, I literally searched up like London School of Economics, economic success. London School of Economics, economics. Yeah. Wait, I'm not tripping. Yeah. Successful personal statements. Then I would watch a lot of YouTube videos of how they wrote. So I kind of know firsthand what the exam, what the people in the uni are looking for. Yeah. Then, but my last tip is that don't limit your portfolio to a singular field. For example, my portfolio was heavily stacked on econs, right? But I wish I had branched out more to other areas. Maybe I'll discover like things that I was even more passionate in. Okay, but so how I look for internships? Actually, do not fret because Hwa Chong does provide a lot of internship opportunities. For example, they have their PAG program. I don't know what it stands for, but PAG program of organizations hiring interns, like pre-U interns and things like that. So really just keep a lookout for all those. Yeah. But if that's not sufficient for you, right? Connections, if you have like your family GP or your family dentist or like your mom's aunt's daughter. Okay, you get the gist lah. But like family connections. And then if that one don't have, you can just like what Janelle said. Okay, she's really experienced at outreach, cold outreach to people that you don't know lah. But for me, I personally use LinkedIn quite a lot. LinkedIn was like my best friend. I started my LinkedIn account in J1-ish, and then it's really helpful both in my applications and also to seek out to identify which internships I should go for, because you really can just like text anybody on LinkedIn. For example, they're in your dream uni, studying your dream course, and after you can get application tips from them, and you can go and stalk because they put all their work experience there, right? Yeah, you can just like put your stalker skills into good use on LinkedIn lah. Yeah. Okay. So then I'll dive deep into the specific two courses that I actually applied for. One is UK Econs and one is Dentistry. So for UK schools, like what Faith mentioned also, their personal statement is really about how showing how passionate you are about that subject, economics. Wait, they don't have the slides.
I'm not very sure. You check the.
Oh, okay. Anyways, not important. Okay, so yeah, in your personal statement, it's really good to show deeper engagement with the subject that you're applying for. For example, mine is econs, then phase one is PPE, and this one is law, right? So how you would show that? I would say there's no one size fits all method. One size fits all approach. There are varying methods. For example, econs competition, like I mentioned, like essay competitions, case competitions, and then internships, so that you know what economics is like applied to the real world context. For example, government agencies, think tanks, or even if you want to go into finance, private equity firms. Yeah, so basically beyond these things, there are also a lot of online resources for you. For example, econs books, econs podcasts, yeah, things like that. Oh yeah, and specific for econs is that unlike econs in JC, econs in uni is very, very math heavy, so it'll be good if you have some math related achievements. Okay, then for dentistry, so I would say this quite true. For local universities, grades are very important first cut lah. Like yeah. Uh, yeah, okay, there's nothing much to say. Grades are important. Okay, but on top of that, you also need to be able to show your passion because there are so many people with like so good grades. So how you gonna differentiate yourself, right? So specific for Dan or Matt or honestly anything, I would say job shadow or work in or go for internships. For me personally, I job shadowed for like 10 days only lah before I applied for then, but that's because I was working in a government agency already, so I couldn't take up another employment. But I would suggest, right, especially those in secondary school, after Sec 4, you'll have time, can go and take on like job shadowing or internship at clinics or hospitals, things like that. If you're interested, like, and then so yeah, say real, this will not only help you know what you're getting into, but it also show the examiner or like the interviewer when you're interviewing for them that you actually know what it's like. And it's not like you have an idealized version of what dentistry is. Like you've seen the dentist in practice and you know that you want to do that. So that's I think it's very convincing for the interviewer as well if you have job shadowing or internships. Yeah, and then uh yeah, volunteering like what Janelle said. And also for Dan it's very like heavy on manual dexterity. So I would say make sure you're good with your hands. And then also prepare for the MMI. Okay, so for Dan and Matt, so there's this MMI, like multiple mini interview. That's the interview. That's the yeah, that's how the interview is. Like if you want to know more, can ask during the oh yeah, okay, as in like can ask during the Q&A later. Yeah, but basically I looked up a lot of past interview questions so that I could prepare myself for the interview specifically. Yeah, okay. That's all from me. Thanks.
For my portfolio, I feel it's a bit less heavy on internships and work experience, and a bit more heavy on academic stuff. So I think one of the more perhaps unique things is that I participated and read out a lot of law-related subjects, but this goes under academic aspect of law instead of me going for a lot of different law internships and things like that. So I split it into competitions, reading courses, internships. So just now I mentioned that I went for this essay competition and I wrote under the law category. So this served the purpose later on when I was applying to the UK where they require you to write a personal statement. So like what Clarice and Faith has shared, their personal statement is basically to show that you're passionate about this thing. And actually it's also to show how you think about certain related subject matters. So academic stuff actually plays quite a significant role in perhaps more overseas unis than local, but I think it's still important if overseas unis is an option that you want to consider. And a lot of reading. So for law, I wrote in my personal statement about theories that I found intriguing and I showed my thought process. So those two are a bit more academic together with courses. So I did this thing, I did like free courses on like Coursera, which has free courses from different universities. And also I believe some of the more famous lecturers or lectures by perhaps experts in whatever field, sometimes they're just free on YouTube and you can just go and watch for either your personal enrichment or maybe to just gain a better idea of what you're going to be studying in uni for your degree. And as for internships, I think the three of them shared quite a lot. So basically for me, it was pretty much the same. So like LinkedIn or like cold calling and applying. And one other thing that I would like to share is that sometimes need to have a bit more thick skin. So I actually interned at Pro Bono SG for a while, but when I was faced with the application form, they asked me which which law school am I a student of, and I was not a student of any law school, so I just told them I just finished my A-levels, so I didn't know if they would accept me, but they did. So actually, you can just try that. And as for things that will make me sort of stand out in the portfolio, for UK applications, like what I mentioned earlier, the personal statements are supposed to demonstrate either number one, how good you are at what you're applying for, or how passionate and how much you love what you are applying for. So based on the four things that I mentioned on top, you can sort of mix and match to see which of the things that you've done or you've learned can demonstrate these two things the best. And as for Singapore applications, so I applied to NUS and SMU Law. I felt that they look a bit more about the holistic profile, so all around the achievements from different parts of your life, CCA, grades, etc. But as Harry said, the grades are still quite important for local because that's how they make the first cut. Yeah, but it's a more balanced thing compared to UK applications where they really don't look at anything other than what you're applying for. So your CCA stuff, they just don't know that at all. yeah, I think that's all for this segment as well. So I'll pass the time back to Mr.
Thank you, Inzi. Okay, so hope you all have a better insight to what they have shared so far and learn something new today. Okay, so it will now be a short break. Yeah, so that if any of you need to go to the toilet, you can go to the toilet now. Then we'll be continuing on very soon in about 5 minutes. Yep, so please be back by 9 p.m. Yep, so toilet break now. Hopefully the first half of the seminar was insightful to you. So we'll now be moving on to our third agenda, which is preparing effectively for A levels. Sorry, give me a moment first. Yeah, is it a bit too loud in the background? Let me go and manage the crowd first, then we continue on. Give me a short moment, please. Sorry. Okay, yes. So let's resume with the seminar now. So we'll now move on to the third topic, which is preparing effectively for A levels. So I'll first get Janelle to kickstart it.
Okay, it's okay, guys. It's been like a long night. I know it's Friday night. Okay. Um. Okay. I don't know. Okay, I'm just gonna start first. Okay. So I think today, like, this is my last live, you guys, for today. No, okay, second last live. But I think there's just two things that I just wanna like say. Okay, so first of all, you guys know that like in secondary school I studied hard. So study hard, you get rewarded for it, right? You guys like I think I mentioned earlier that like I got like MSG1, right? In secondary school. And guys, what happens when you don't study that you hand out like me? So in JC I play a lot, okay? And then in terms of grade, I got 86.75 RP, which is also AABB, which guys, with fact is fact, it is below the cutoff point for medicine, dentistry, and law. So if you guys, the ugly truth is that if you guys get my score, which is 86.75, it'll be very, 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 very difficult for you to like apply for these courses. So I guess one part, like these people here, they are really smart. They are like MSG 190, like straight A style students. But like for me, in my JC I played too much, so like I didn't do well. So that's why my grade is like that. So my point is, guys, study hard, okay? like yeah, like this just also a reminder that like anyone can do badly because you guys cannot get complacent. Like for me in secondary school, my MSG was 1, right? So when we went JC, I was like complacent. Cause I was like, oh, if I could get 9 A1s in secondary school, JC I can like get the 4 A1s easily. You can't be complacent. You guys need to like consistently put in effort. Because once you don't put in effort, like it will show. It will show. So for A levels for me, I was stressed out because I knew that like I played a lot in JC, and then when I actually had to study for my A levels, I started like freaking out because I was stressed because I know that the exam is coming forward and I'm not the most prepared. I know I said to be prepared and I wasn't. So what I did wrong is that when I studied, I would like skim through content. I will skip the tricky questions and be like, oh, I'll come back to it later, but I never go back to it. And I also ignore like the more challenging concepts. So don't do these guys, don't do it. And then after a while, I'll start feeling all the different concepts snowballing, and then like I already knew that I wasn't gonna do well for my A levels. So remember, don't skip the questions you guys don't know, and don't ignore things you don't know, because they will come up in your exams. For me, as what I said, in JC I didn't have like tuition for science. So if there's one thing I regret is that when I knew that I had problems with my sciences, I should have gone for help. I'm not saying you must go for tuition, but you need to seek help. Like talk to your teachers, talk to your peers, talk to like seniors. My point is like seek help when you need it. No, and what I learned is that academics is a slow and steady pace. It's a slow and steady way. So you have to be consistent. You cannot let your questions pile up, cannot let your mistakes pile up. Because once you start accumulating problems, it's just gonna get bigger and bigger. Like the whole I don't know bubble just get bigger and bigger. And ultimately it's gonna come and bite you in your buttocks. Yeah. So what I would advise myself is you must be consistent. Seek help early when you need help. Like obviously, I think the three of them in general, you hear them telling you that it's important to balance your academics and your own life, which is very important. And that's also great because you can see that they actually end up doing well. But I'm also like a real life example that not everything is so like wonderful in JC. You have to put in your due work. If not, you'll end up like paying the price for it. So okay, so earlier I told you that I have two messages for you. The first is that study hard. I can go from MSG 1.0 to a score that's below the cutoff point for some universities, which is obviously not very good. So study hard. But my second message is that, okay, even if I'm below, like even if I get A, B, B, the fact remains that I did get offered NUS Medicine, NTU Medicine, and SMU Law. So even if you don't do well for A levels, it's not end of the world, guys. Like if you guys remember me 4 years from now, you can feel free to text me and like talk to me. You just tell me I was at your top 4 years ago, and I'll be there. Okay. But okay, my second point is if you don't do well, it's not end of the world. So I think the three of them, like just so we are clear, we can clarify this point. So I think some of them mentioned that grades is like the first cutoff point, so you do well, right? So let me explain to you the local university application system. So if you're talking about competitive courses for medicine, dentistry, and law, there's like there's two checkpoints. So the first checkpoint, right, you can come in through two paths. The first path is the academic path. So long you have like straight A's, you can get through the first checkpoint. But there's another way, which is the way I went. I went in through like talent. It's like your DSA. Yeah, you can DSA in. So I DSA with volunteering. Yeah, so you can use volunteering as a DSA, guys. Like I'm not joking. Volunteering is like it can be used as a DSA. My point is so okay. So that's the first checkpoint thing. So for Faith and Yingzi, when they say grades are important, it's because the first checkpoint, I think around 90% to 95% would go through their grades. But there's like that 5 to 10% who DSA using their own talents, and my talent was volunteering. Then that's the first checkpoint. Then the second checkpoint will be your interview. So like for law and medicine, there's an interview. I think dentistry, there's also an interview. And they also got some hand dexterity test. If you guys are interested in dentistry, you guys can ask Clarice more about this. Yeah, I'm not very sure because I didn't apply dentistry. But yeah, okay, so that's my second point, guys. You, even if your grades cannot make it, there's always like the second path, which is your DSA path. So don't lose all hope if you guys don't do well. But do well, guys. You guys are really smart. I know you guys can. Okay, so now I'm gonna pass my time to Faith, who can explain more about the A-level journey.
Okay, hi guys. So my subject combination was like H2 Lit, H2 History, H2 China Studies in Chinese and Math. So yeah, very arts combination. But once again, I think it's all stuff that I really enjoy. So I would say that although my subject combination, oh, I also had like my H3, but that one was taken in like April. So I sort of got it out of the way early, which is what I really liked about my H3. If you guys are interested, you all can ask me more later. But these are basically the subjects that I formally set for during A-level season. And something interesting, I guess, that me and Yingzi went through was that as part of like our China studies and Chinese like examination, we had to write like a 4,000 character long Chinese research paper, like including research and everything. So I had to do like interviews, all that stuff. So that was pretty intense. It gave me a lot of stress and pressure, and I think that was one of the biggest challenges, like in terms of like my A-level journey, because it's the one thing that you sort of have to continuously work on throughout your J2 year. And like for me, I was very overcommitted with things like council and like faculty committee, especially at the start of the year. So that led to me like rushing a lot of stuff towards like down to the very last like 1 or 2 hours before the deadline, like literally like printing, like running to coronation and printing stuff and then running back to school to submit it, that kind of rush. So I would say that's quite a big challenge lah. And in general, like but okay, that aside, as for the actual exams, like how it was for me, I would say it's really like a prolonged period of stress, but it's punctuated with little moments of like happy stuff. So like in general, like I studied a lot in school. So it would really be like me sitting there for 3 hours straight, like doing a math paper, and then after that I get to go and have lunch with my friends. So it's definitely very stressful. But I guess the point of me saying this is that like it is like small moments like these that you learn to treasure a lot during A levels. And it's something that really helps keep like your mental health in check, and just to know that you are not like trapped inside this little bubble where it's just like you versus A levels, but rather that like there are a lot of other people who are going through the same struggle and the same sort of like frustration and like anxiety as you. So as for how I study, I would say like a lot of people like really like push the idea of having a study schedule. But I understand that it's very difficult to and I'm certain that I'm not the only one that is faced with this kind of issue of not being able to keep to a schedule. Because the truth is that you can plan as much as you want, but there may always be things that crop up, or you may fall sick, or there may be days where you just wake up and you just don't feel like looking at like I just don't want to look at Chinese character, or I don't look at numbers, so I just like default to like the other two subjects. And there are days like that, and that's okay. So what I did instead was to abandon that idea completely, but I just like adopted like a to-do list style. So like I just had like a list of things that I wanted to do, and every day I would make sure that I at least like completed a certain amount of it and ensured that however I study or chose to study on that day. So for example, be it like reading through my notes, memorizing stuff, doing a paper, I made sure that I did all of that properly and seriously and with the intention to learn. Yeah. And I would say that what I did was just I studied a lot of content, and I must like emphasize this point about like practicing non-stop, because um for a lot of people, like especially for the humanities subjects, they tend to, for example, like make notes and then like study the notes and just try to memorize them. But the truth is that it's very difficult to score well if you don't consistently practice. So closer to levels, I think I was like writing like 2 or 3 essays a day and then like doing like a bit of math and stuff like that. So it's really just like a lot of practice, and it's like time practice. So it's like just for 1 hour straight, I'll just sit down and write something and then either like mark it myself or give it to the teacher to mark. I also clarified my doubts a lot. So I think I was very blessed to have some like very nice teachers who are very open to consultations, to like marking extra work on like a weekly basis, which was quite crazy and it might not be the norm, but it's definitely possible for you to seek consultations from your teachers, because they are the ones that know the syllabus best, and they'll be able to like accurately identify any gaps in your understanding and help you answer questions better, especially for humanities subjects. Yeah, so I just did that and did it non-stop closer to A levels. Did I attend any tuition classes? I did not, but I don't think I would have wanted to either. But it's also because the nature of my subjects makes like tuition less necessary, because these are my subjects are a bit more like skills based. So it's not so much about like drilling, but also about really grasping that skill of how to like write a good essay, how to have the correct case studies. So I did a lot of my practice and my learning through consultations with teachers, and I personally at least found that to be more effective for my subjects now, but I think it will differ across the board. One thing I learned from my A-level journey is that like I cannot stress the importance of balance enough. Like I think I mentioned earlier that in Nanyang I was like very stressed with a CATS, and especially closer to the exams. And I think that was even worse when it came to the A levels, because there comes a certain point in your JC life when you are doing nothing but studying, because like your CCA and every other aspect of your life has basically shut down for you to focus on this one end goal. So it's very difficult to sort of like shift your attention away from it, or like know that there's like life outside of the A levels. But I think it's really important to like have a balanced like attitude towards A levels. So I think there were periods of time where I really like studied like very hard, and it caused like me to be like very like anxious and like stressed all the time. So and I realized that what helped to like balance that out was things like spending time with my friends, and like I think like my family has this thing like we always have dinner together and stuff like that. So it's these kind of moments that you really cannot give up closer to the A levels, because you realize like how precious all this time is. And if you decide to like adopt a method where like you're like studying in the library like the entire day, and then like or like you don't eat or you don't sleep, like it will just take like a really big toll on your health, especially closer to the A levels, and you don't want to be like sleeping 3 hours before like you take a 3 hour long exam, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's something very important. And I guess something I would have advised my 17-year-old self working towards the A levels is that I have like to say that you have time, because I think in the 2 years of JC, you're always told that it's a very short runway, which is true. And you're told that you have very little time to study, also true. But the thing is, even though there is supposedly very little time, the truth is that closer to the A levels, when your commitments start to stand down a bit more, and you enter the period of like study leave and study break, you really have a lot of time and like the freedom to like plan how you use your days, how you use your nights. So like you can really like tailor it according to how you want to study, and you don't really have to like chiong and rush everything very early, because you do still have time. And even when A levels begin, you have time before the papers, in between papers, to at least like revise or refresh some concepts. So yeah, I think that's a very important point. Oh, I think another point that I forgot to mention like here about like how that I study and like my general approach towards academics in JC was really like I think I treated like every checkpoint that the school gives you very seriously, because there's a reason these checkpoints are put in place, like be it an unweighted assessment or like a formal like block test or like promos at the end of J1, right? Like I made sure to like treat each one of them seriously. I know of some friends who were like, oh, like this test is like ungraded, so I'm just going to like not study and just like wing it, which is like okay, like fair enough. But like at least for me, I found that it was important to at least like even if no matter how tired I am, I'll at least skim through the notes once or twice and at least think of some examples that like maybe I can use in a GP essay or that I can use in a history essay. So that even if I go into the test and I don't do really well or I like and am unable to like recall facts, at least I know exactly what my gaps are and at least I know that I at least tried a little bit. And then after you know what those gaps are, it's easier to go and fill them in when you have a bit more time. So your deficits don't snowball lah, basically. Okay, yeah, Slay. Okay, Clarice will now share her study tips.
Thanks, Dave. So, on to study tips and strategies. I know this is a bit like A-level related because my subject from is PCM, but I think study tips generally sectors also applies to all of you lah. So, because I'm in science combi, right? So I can't really speak for like human subjects, but basically for PCM, I broke down into 4 parts. Firstly, is definitely make sure you understand the concept that's being taught. Like a good gauge for me is that I'm able to teach people about it or like explain it in simple terms. I wouldn't recommend simply memorizing, like for example your chem concepts or physics concepts. It's important that you really understand it. So for me, if I didn't understand, I would stay back after class to ask Miss like Miss we always eat into her lunch break last time when we were back in learning lab, like me and Janelle. Yeah. Then second is practice makes perfect. So actually I think Nanyang, Hwa Chong, whatever, they give a lot of past year papers and then there's like 10-year series and things like that. I will make sure I drill practice. I keep practicing because like at the end of the day you realize that actually a lot of exam questions that are about the same lah. So as long as you know the answering technique or you know how to solve this question, you can apply it in different contexts. Yeah. Then third one is stay consistent because I'm someone who likes to like say after a concept is taught, then I make sure that I internalize it and I do practice questions about that concept. So I don't leave everything to the end or like nearing exams, then I cram everything. But I make sure I am on task throughout the year. This is very important. You're like you're Sec 2s now, right? So yeah. Moving forward the next 4 years, I think consistency is really key lah. If not, you'll regret when you come to your A levels. Yeah. So for example, for GP, because I mentioned LA is like a subject that I'm very weak at. So in JC, GP was also something I was weak at. So I would actually collate current affairs weekly and also practice voicing my opinions on news pieces or analyzing essay questions frequently. Yeah, sometimes I also give it to my teachers or tutors to mark. Yeah, and then my fourth advice is to study smart. Like spam practices, study the answer keys, because from answer keys you know how the examiners mark your answers, and then identify the keywords and answering techniques lah. For example, like I'm sure Miss Earl always give you a lot of answering techniques, but you can do it yourself for other subjects as well. Yeah. Okay. So I want to say something but I forgot. Okay, anyways. So for study another thing is study groups. So very importantly is you consult your smart classmates. So I was very fortunate. I was in SMTP and a lot of advanced science classes, so I had a lot of very talented friends and very hardworking friends in my class. So I'll literally just be thick skin and ask them when I don't know a concept, and they're always very willing to help me. Yeah. And then creating study groups and also staying back after school to study with my friends. Sounds a bit loser, but this actually became one of my highlights, like studying with my friends after school. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, another part about classmates, right? I would say I'm very grateful for SMTP. If you have the chance, do join like special programs like these, because it's not just the extra content that they teach, but it's also the classmates that you are surrounded or you surround yourself with. They are really inspiring people, not just in academics but outside of academics. Like for example, all the competitions that I joined, right, half of them is like my classmates went out to source for competitions and then they dragged me in or they introduced me to those competitions. So just really inspiring people. So if you have the chance, surround yourself with like-minded people. Yeah, like take history classes, advanced classes, because you'll be surrounded with those kind of people lah. And then resources, notes sharing with classmates. So like each person pull in, like do your part, and then you can have like a comprehensive list of, like, for example, GP examples that you share with your friends, and then back your seniors, or like, yeah, back your seniors. Usually a lot of seniors are very willing to share with you their notes. And then tuition really helps. Like what I said, study smart. You like really study using the AT and skills. Oh yeah, another thing, I don't know whether I mentioned here. Oh yeah, revisit your mistakes and corrections. So like throughout the year you have a lot of practices, right? So what I like to do is that I would like year mark, or like put the, like, there's a page, right? What's this called? Post-it. Yeah, post-it, correct. Yeah. Year mark, I'll put post-it for those questions that I get wrong, so that at the end of the year I can just, like, during revision, I just revisit the corrections that I have, so it's like easier. Yeah. So I think that's a very good thing that y'all should do. So yeah, review and revisit your mistakes. Okay. That's all for me.
Yeah, so now I'll share a bit about the resources involved. So, as I mentioned just now, I take an arts combi, so I take China Studies, Lit, Math, Econs, GP, which are mostly content-based subjects. So for these content-based subjects, notes are, I guess, especially important. But the important part is that you must make sure they are effective and also suit your needs. So it's not really about the quantity of notes. It has to make sure that it really aligns with how best you learn and absorb information. So in terms of notes, which I rely heavily on, there are like curriculum notes, which is the school will provide them. Or for lit, I made my own notes because I felt that the process of making the notes actually is the thing that actually helps me study. So, and then as for the curriculum notes, it should always be the foundation that maybe you want to make summaries of or things like that, but it should always be the foundation because that is how it's going to be taught and that's how it's going to be assessed. And but you must learn how to glean the important parts from the entire paragraph because sometimes the entire paragraph of text they will talk a lot, but the part that's tested is only like a few phrases, that kind of thing. Yeah, so something that's effective is you can make your own summaries. Then when you are studying or practicing, you can try to either refer to it, or if you feel confident enough, then you can just do without it and see, use it as sort of like a progress check. And if you're making your own notes for any subject, I think it's good to have an organization system that you're comfortable with. So for my lit, I sorted it into the different texts I was studying and things like that, or different themes, and stick to it consistently because it has to be something that you understand how to refer to easily when you refer to it when you're practicing. And then for China Studies and GP, I find that supplementary readings are actually very important. So things like current affairs, you need to read the news and try to build a habit of reading the news. And there's also tuition. So I went for econs tuition in JC. So they had their own notes. So I guess that was good. They did the thing where they make their own summaries as above. So actually you can do it yourself as well. And the other good thing is that they provided timed practice opportunities and like feedback because I think if you have the chance to, you can try submitting things to your teachers, or if you eventually go for tuition, your tutors to mark and feedback because I think that's the most effective way for you to learn what are your areas for improvement and target them. Yeah, so that's what I have. And I think that's the next section that Mr. take over.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, so next we will move on to the next and final agenda for today, which is choosing your uni path. So it's like, no, that is like all like if you are done with A levels, then if it's all done and dusted, then how do you decide like which course do you want to go for uni and what do you do with your life? Yeah, so now I'll get Clarice to share.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. I'm back. Okay, so how to decide what I want to do with my life after A levels. So this quite daunting for some of you, right? It was really daunting for me as well. And in fact, up to like just a few months ago, I was also not very sure what I wanted to do. So I would say the approach that I took was a personal values based approach. Like I really sat down with myself and asked myself, what are my strengths, my weakness, my passion, but most importantly also what are my values in life, which allow me to decide what career I want, right? So don't be afraid to be honest with yourself, like, oh my god, I just want to be rich, right? Like no shame in that. It's a career, but so yeah, it does, even if it doesn't sound like nice, like I want money, just like make sure you know what you want in life. If not, later you take the uni degree and go into a career you don't want because you felt ashamed to be honest with yourself. That also doesn't make sense, right? Yeah, so for me, like things like stability was very important to me in a career, and things like making an impact and things like that. Yeah, so personally for me, I considered three things. Like I call it the three P's. It's like passion, purpose, and profit. Whoa! I saw your Instagram. Scroll your Instagram, guys. You'll find. Okay, I'm kidding. But yeah, I found it off Instagram lah. I'm not gonna take credit for it, but basically, it really resonated with me. In my journey in choosing my career. Yeah. So another thing is think long term. So you are not only choosing a degree, but also your career, because I know it's not a straightforward path from your degree to your career, but eventually you'll probably do something related to your degree. Yeah, okay. Generally lah. But yeah, don't fret because no decision is final. After you go through uni, you still have a lot of choices to choose from for your career, unless you take something very specialized and very technical, like professional degrees, like maybe engineering or medicine, dentistry, law. Then you have to be very certain that that's what you want to do, because it's very hard to change out. Like no point, right? Yeah. So after you had that honest self-talk, then you ask around and get informed. So how I did that, right? I really reached out to people around me, seniors, my subject teachers, friends and family in the field. I talked to, oh yeah, and I said LinkedIn is your best friend, right? So if you don't have connections around you, you can use LinkedIn, just cold reach out to people on LinkedIn who are in the course of your choice. Ask them their motivations, ask them their aspirations, and just have a very nice convo with them. I did that a lot because I was looking to study economics at LSE and take on a scholarship with the government. So I was considering economic development board. So I really reached out to a lot of EDB scholars on LinkedIn, and they shared with me how life in EDB is at. Okay, our context, right? If you take on a government scholarship, usually you bond 6 years. So I really had to know what I was getting myself into, which is through LinkedIn. I asked them how their work is like. Yeah, and then I also went for a lot of uni, career, or scholarship fairs and open houses. Fret not, because in Hwa Chong you have a lot of opportunities to do so. So you don't have to worry about that first in secondary school. Yeah. And then last but not least is like the importance of internships to get a taste of what you're getting yourself into lah. So one of my small regrets is like after Sec 4, right, I was like, oh my god, I want to go part-time job. So I worked at Guzman Y Gomez. Yeah, part-time job. No hate to like part-time jobs, but I felt like I could have better use my time to explore my future career instead of being so excited about part-timing in the F&B industry, right? I have like so many chances to do that. Yeah, I felt like maybe I should have done like what Faith did or Janelle did, like go for law internships or like medicine shadowing, things like that. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, okay. So last one is be bold. Wow, this is quite nice. I think somebody wrote this for me. Be bold and step into discovering your own unique journey. Yeah. So basically, long story short, right? You can ask me more if you want to know more. But basically, I was really passionate about econs as a subject. But what I came to realize after interning at a government agency, which was very heavily about econs, I realized that I also went to seek out private like both jobs in the public and private sector related to econs, and I realized that maybe those are not suitable for me. I'll go into that. You can ask me during the Q&A lah, but I realized that what you like in a subject may not be what you like in a career. Like the career might be very different. So I tried to, like what I mentioned, what I wanted a career, like passion, purpose, and profit, right? And I think dentistry really encapsulated all three of that very well for me. And so um I went to shadow a dentist, and it only served to reconfirm that I really enjoy the course and enjoy the career lah. So eventually I chose that. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, okay. Next, into
As for me, I would suggest you can start exploring your options early. So actually for secondary school, I didn't really think about what I wanted to do for career, which I think is still okay because I still ended up here anyway. So, but I started thinking properly in about J1. So maybe that's something you might want to look at. And general advice is that I think it's okay to change your mind at multiple points. Because as I mentioned earlier, in secondary school, I was doing triple science and lit. And then I was like doing like advanced sciences because I thought that, oh, next time I want to be doctor. Then at the end of Sec 4, I was like, no, I don't want to be doctor already. Then I just changed all the way into art stream. So it's actually okay. And like what Paris said, I think it's good to weigh the pros and cons depending on what you value. So she has her 3 Ps, right? So like something similar, passion, or do you want work-life balance, money, job security, etc., etc. So the important part is to be honest with yourself and know very clearly what you want and what you want in a career. And also, one piece of advice that my Sec 4 form teacher shared with us is that one way to look at it is to do something that you are good at over something you love. Sometimes the two overlap. Most of the time they overlap, which is good. But if you are faced with two different things, one is something you are good at and something that you would want to do, she suggests that you do something you are good at. And I think it's up to your personal values whether you want to follow this approach. But it's something that I, in a sense, followed when when I was thinking about what I wanted to do as a career. Because if we are talking about something I love, the more obvious choice would be that I love literature. But I chose eventually to do something I would potentially be better at because I felt that it provided a more, I guess, broader perspective when it comes to the real world. Because sometimes after schooling for so long, a lot of our options are limited to what we know from academia. So, and something you love can also manifest in other things other than your career because it's unlikely that you'll be working 24/7 your entire life. So it's good to achieve balance as well. And as for choosing your university and course, you should choose what you want to do before which uni you want to go. Because I think some people they prioritize the name of the uni and things like that. Because different unis are good at different things. So it's best to choose the course that um that uni would provide in a more suitable way. And also if it's overseas versus local uni, something to consider is that what scholarships are you planning to apply for? Because as they said, the bond is quite long. So it's something that you need to be locked in for a very long time. So, and I would suggest that you apply for scholarships that you really see yourself working in instead of something that is, I guess, something expected or you just go with the flow and things like that. You need to think clearly about your decision because for me, I applied to some scholarships, but because these government bonded scholarships usually don't allow you to be called to the bar during your bond. So usually the overseas bond is about 6 years, right? So that's 6 years of you not being able to, I guess for me, it will be not being able to be qualified as a lawyer. So I eventually decided to proceed without a scholarship. But this depends on your personal situation as well. So a lot has to be discussed with your family and other forms of financial support as well. And I think one way I decided and confirmed what I wanted to do as a career is through internships and jobs because I feel that generally you either learn more about the industry or after going you learn that you don't want to do this industry and you change your mind, or you can just learn about things that you wouldn't expect yourself to be doing just to get a taste of the real world because sometimes we spend so much of our time in school and a lot of professions and things we are exposed to is not actually the real picture. So I feel that internships are a good way for you to get more exposure when it comes to this. Yeah. I'll pass the time over to Janelle, I think.
Oh my God, guys, it's been a really long time here. Thank you for your attention. It's the last slide. Okay. Okay, so right now we're gonna be talking about university. There's gonna be local and overseas, which Faith will share more. For local, honestly, there's the pros and cons. So the pros is Singapore is good. You get what I mean? Like, why go overseas and spend a lot of money when Singapore can provide you a very quality education? So for me, I stayed local, so obviously I'm gonna advocate for local. So to me, if NUS is 8th in the world and NTU is 15th in the world, and you guys have subsidized school fees, so it's much cheaper than if you have to pay as an international student abroad. So for me, I would say that if Singapore is good, cheap and good, then like study Singapore. But of course, there's gonna be why international is good, which Faith will share more. So yeah, it's cheap. It's cheaper. Uni is expensive. Is good. And I think that about this might be more relevant. Is that the content you learn is more relevant. So for medicine, I heard that I did my research. So for Singapore, you're gonna be exposed more in the curriculum to Singapore type of diseases. Like there's a very very heavy focus on diabetes, and you guys also learn about dengue, which may not be covered that much if you study in Australia. Like I heard from like seniors that if you go Australia to study medicine, there's a very heavy focus on like I'm not sure indigenous is the correct word, but you get the vibe I'm trying to say, right? Like it's more Australia-based diseases based on their genetics and their population. So when you come back to Singapore, the stuff you learn in their university may not be fully relevant here. That's one. And so there's kind of like information that you learn that is kind of not important anymore. And also you need to learn a lot more here because as what I say, your information, your knowledge in dengue and diabetes, for example, would not be enough for you to survive in Singapore lah. Like to actually cure, you get what I mean? So that's for medicine. Okay, for law, okay, this like okay, ignore the part about law because if you go to like more ulu UK universities, I heard you need to take another exam. I'm not very sure. But like if you go to like the popular ones like Oxford and Cambridge, then confirm can come back Singapore lah. Okay, but dentistry, this is important because for my batch onwards, meaning the after the graduation batch of 2029, which confirm includes you guys have to sit for like a special test in Singapore before you can come back to Singapore to practice. And second of all, you need a guarantor for 2 years to practice, which means that someone needs to sign you off for 2 years, the first 2 years of practicing in Singapore when you come back from abroad. That I think like for all abroad universities. So basically, it's like there's a lot of additional restrictions if you choose to come back from overseas if you're studying dentistry. So that's something you need to bear in mind. Do you have someone who would sign you off for your first 2 years back in Singapore? And are you confident that you can pass the test to come back to Singapore? Because I heard that the test is like not exactly a very easy test. But yeah. I'm not exactly sure. This is something that you need to do more research on. I just heard that you need like for example, if a clinic wants to employ you, right? Then this person who hired you every 1 month or every 3 months, I think something like that. You need to do more research, okay? Don't base on me, but something like every few months they will have to sign you off and be like, okay, this person has performed the procedures well. Something like that, right? Am I saying it correctly?
I don't know.
Okay, guys, like I'm not very sure. You need to do your research, but I know for sure that you need a 2-year guarantor and you need to take a test, which is not very easy. That's the information I can provide for now. Because I wasn't applying dentistry. This is just things that I some background knowledge that I know. Okay, anyway, for cons, I would bracket Jiasu because I would just say the same environment. If you guys enjoy this environment, congratulations, your peers are exactly the same. I just came back from uni camp, like orientation camp. I knew like half the people inside. Like it's like, oh, you're my classmate. You're also my classmate. They were like my classmates from like primary, secondary, GC. Like I know it's super familiar faces. Yeah. So you're gonna meet the same people in the same place. I guess this is sort of true. Like, think about it. Everyone there is super duper smart. Everyone is super duper smart. So you must be able to like keep up with that type of stress. And yeah, I would still like to say that a lot of people may want to go overseas because they find it more interesting. But I will say that in Singapore, life can be as interesting as you make it out to be. If you choose to study all the time, then yeah lah, it's not that fun. But there's hall life, there's interest groups, there's CCAs. Just like it can be fun in Singapore. And before I pass my time to Faith, Clarice mentioned something about the 3 Ps: purpose, passion, and profit. I would just like to say that if you are thinking about studying medicine, I think you cannot think too much about the profit part. And instead you need to focus on the 2 things like purpose and passion. I know this might sound as something very cliche, but you must make sure that you know what you're going in for. Like it's a really difficult career. So make sure that you're in it for the right reasons. You know why? It's gonna show. You know why? Let me tell you. Med school is 5 years. And you sign a 5+1, meaning 6-year bond. So right, when you're gonna be free from the government is when you're 30. If you're a guy, you're 32. And that's not all, If you want a specialized training, right? Specialist training is 6 years. It can overlap with your bond. But if it doesn't overlap your bond, you're gonna like be a specialist when you're like 38 or something if you're unlucky. But point is, it's a very long training process, and the money only comes in when you're like a super senior guy in the hospital, which you won't be until you're like 40 plus. Okay, so okay, I mean, take it with a pinch of salt, but also not like listen carefully because it's a very long career, guys. If you guys are doing it for the money, and then you guys at 30 years old realize that you're earning like 7K a month, and you're like, oh my god, why am I earning 7K a month at 30 when my friends who might be in like finance or law earning a lot more? You're gonna start questioning your job a lot. So that's not gonna be good for you. So make sure that if you want to do medicine, focus on the passion and purpose. Don't really first focus on the profit aspect of it. Then now Faith would wrap up for the overseas uni part.
So, as for me, like, I must say that, I did like really consider local universities as well. And as for me, I wouldn't have been able to go overseas if not for like my scholarship. So, okay, anyway, yeah, I think local unis are great too, but it's really up to you. So, like, basically for me, is going overseas to study is just something that I've like wanted and dreamed of for a really long time. And at least to me, like, it felt um because I spent all my life like studying in Singapore. I saw like university as like a time in my youth, time when I'm still young to be able to like go out, see the world, study something I like, meet new people, learn new things, explore new cultures. So at least for me, it felt like that like university was the best time to do that. And I knew that eventually at the end of the day, I would still want to come back, work locally and like, do the normal Singaporean stuff. But I felt like university was the best pocket of time in my life to go overseas. So that's why I really wanted to go. So as for me, I felt like the a big pro of like overseas universities is academic rigor. Not that like local universities don't have academic rigor, but at least for my course, like the UK is I'm pretty sure like my course started in the UK. So that's where like they really like structured and built up the entire course. And therefore, and also because the UK system is generally more academically rigorous and has a very high focus on like that specific subject and that specific discipline that you're in. So I think I really wanted to challenge myself with that academic rigor. Another point is that it may offer a better program for your course of study. So I would say like for medicine, like Janelle mentioned earlier, it may not have such a big difference. And like she said that there's some like more focus on like local stuff that's more relevant. But at least for me, I'm pretty sure like the universities in London and in the United Kingdom in general do offer, at least some universities do offer a better program for my course of study. So I guess this varies like from person to person. But this was true for me. So I felt that if I wanted to study this course, I wanted to be in the best possible place to study it lah, and that was UK. Another big thing that was important for me was like global experience, as I mentioned earlier. I think like while there's a lot of like interesting stuff and Singapore and life in Singapore can indeed be very vibrant. I think like the fact of the matter is that Singapore is still a very small country and the world is very big. So at least for me, I wanted to have a bit more of a global experience in terms of meeting new people, exploring new places, and basically having more access to opportunities that you may not even have known of if you just stayed in Singapore. And another like thing that's more on the fun side is just there's a lot of opportunity to travel because I'll be in London, which is like really a stone's throw away from like many countries in Europe. So I know of a lot of seniors who spend like their holidays like traveling around Europe and experiencing life there. So I think that's something I really wanted to do during my uni days before I like start work proper, and such opportunities and periods of time become a lot harder to come by. Another point is I wanted to learn independence. So I think like this is just like a very general point because I think in Singapore, you'll still be close to not only like your family or people who can take care of you and like help you whenever you need it. You're also surrounded very much in your comfort zone because you'll be surrounded by people that you've met before, a system that you're familiar with, a country that you're familiar with. So something I really wanted to try was living somewhere that I am totally like unfamiliar with and like I don't know much about, and also to live by myself so that I can learn like basic things and how to basically like navigate life, study hard, do day-to-day things on my own lah, without my parents or my family. And another point is that it may possibly suit your learning style better. So once again, it depends on course and it depends on person. But at least for me, like I think I'm someone who likes to study quite hard, and I enjoy like really going in depth and learning about a topic. So I felt like studying in the UK was quite suitable for me. And I know of some friends who prefer like a more broad-based education and they want to really dabble in various different fields. Like they want to have a bit of experience in the humanities, a bit of the sciences, a bit of math. And for that, I think the US system is very good. So I think depending on your needs, studying overseas might be better. Yeah. And as for cons, I think a very big con is, as I mentioned earlier, like it's very, very expensive to study overseas. And especially if you're headed to countries like in the States or like the UK or Europe and you're not on a scholarship, you're not only will your school fees be very, very expensive as an international student, you also have to factor in that these countries have like a really high cost of living. So things like accommodation, food, okay, groceries still okay, but generally it's quite expensive. So if you're not on a scholarship, I would say like, and if you're not on a scholarship, like I think local universities are okay also. But if you have the opportunity and the means to do so, I think overseas would be great lah. Yeah, and I think while learning independence is a pro, I think also having to live alone and do a lot on your own can be a con for some people. Like being away from home and not having like the comfort people around you to like, for example, like take care of you when you're sick or when you're sad, right? I think that can be quite daunting at first. So I guess some people may not really want that or they want to be closer to home or maybe like they're closer to like their grandparents or like some of their cousins. So they might want to stay local. But I think it's just all a matter of priority lah. I wouldn't say that like overseas is like really better than local or like the other way around. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all. You want to wrap up? Yeah, so maybe just to share with you all that sometimes you don't need to just see that, okay, should I choose local? Local means I'm all the way in Singapore, or should I choose like overseas? Then all the way in overseas. Because even in local universities, there are actually overseas exchange programs. Yeah, so like for what I did is that I actually applied like one semester where I actually went to like Sweden to study for half a year. But then you are still paying the local school fees. Yeah, so it's still like cheap. Yeah, so that's another alternative that you can go for instead of just looking totally extreme local or overseas. Yeah, there is exchange programs that you can attend. Yeah. Okay, so yes, we have finally reached the last segment about to end. Yep, so if you have enjoyed the session today, would you mind leave a Google review for us by scanning this QR code? Yep, so yeah, since like like your seniors have set aside their time, yeah, so maybe can I just take a tiny bit of your time to leave a Google review? Yep, then on the top three reviews will be able to receive our exclusive NYGH curated notes. So the top three winners, we will reach out to you through your phone number and yeah, we'll contact you on how to pass you the curated notes. Yep, so hope you can set aside some time to help give us a review. And then meanwhile, submitting the Google review, you can also think of any questions that you might want to ask our panelists. Yeah, so they would be happy to share more. Okay, so yeah, so for the Q&A, one of the first question that I will be asking the panelists is because I see that like quite a lot of you all are from Sec 2 this year that is attending this seminar today. So the first question is like, how did you guys decide on your Sec 3 subject combination? And like, do you have any opinion on like the subject that you have taken so far? So any of you, all right with sharing? So how do you decide on your Sec 3 subject combi? And how do you find your subject combi is now?
I think I'm the only one here that did more of a humanities space.
Which
subject
subject combination you took?
Okay, I took the basic subject, so language arts, IM1, IM2, IH, Chinese. Then aside from that, I took physics, chemistry, history, and literature. So it's definitely more right. It's definitely more humanities based lah. And why I chose my subject combination was because I knew very early on that my interests lay in the humanities. I was like considering like career and like public service, and I was very interested in things like politics related. So I thought it was like a good subject combination for me. I think it also left enough flexibility because I think I knew I felt like for me, physics would be a more practical science to choose. So I felt that even if I decide that I wasn't really like vibing with like arts or humanities at the end of Sec 4, I could still sort of pivot over into like a PCME kind of combination agency if I chose to. So at least like so even though my combination was still a bit more like sort of humanities, I think it still left enough leeway for me to sort of pivot. So that's what I like about it. As for like my opinions on the subjects I think generally it was very enjoyable. I particularly enjoyed the humanities. I think like Nanya's history teachers and lit teachers are all like very nice and very good. So yeah. And that's a biased opinion. I think like I wouldn't expect you guys to know very early on if you like something or like I guess people discover their passions at different times. So maybe you can hear from the rest of it.
I took, I think me, Info and Clarice, we all took the science combination.
But you actually
Yeah, I should do extra subject. So for me and Claire had the same combi. So we took bio, chem, math. Sorry, I was talking about bio, chem, physics, 2 maths, social studies,
Basically, trip
English
science.
and Chinese.
Yeah,
Yeah, we took trip science. Then like I took advanced math and she took advanced physics.
Yeah.
Advanced bio and chem. Yeah.
Last one extra.
Last blade or
Last
something.
blade.
Yeah, she's a legend, bro. Yeah. That was our science. I guess for me, I knew I wanted medicine for like a really long time. So I knew I wanted a science stream. So I just took like triple science. And then JC I took bio. But also I feel like secondary school doesn't limit you, because I know people who did humanities in secondary school and proceeded to join the science program in JC. And I also know people from like science who jump to like humanities. So secondary school and JC, you try something in secondary school, you don't like it in Sec 3, Sec 4. Transfer over when you're JC. Like it's not too late to change your mind.
Does advanced subject help when you go to JC?
Oh yeah, they say yes.
Yes, will help.
For advanced chem.
For advanced can
I
help.
took advanced chem only.
Okay, so maybe if you all have any more questions, you can stay back. We will address all your questions. But if you don't have any more questions, yeah, you are free to take your leave. Yep. So I'll continue on with the Q&A later. Yep. So very final slide for today. Yep. So if any of you is attending online, the goodie bag collection is only until today. So if any of you want to collect your goodie bag, you can ask anyone who is physically present here to collect for you. So yep, then that's all for today.